Are you sick and tired of those Bible verses that feel like they're nothing more than placating you, that feel like they're nothing more than a Band-Aid on your pain? Let's unpack this together in this video. Well, hey friends, so listen, I know there are so many Bible verses that you have heard over the years, so many verses that have, number one, gotten watered down because you've heard them over and over and over again. Bible verses that were written so long ago that oftentimes we think, how can they be relevant in our life today? Bible verses that feel like nothing more than a Band-Aid, like you're supposed to put a smile on and pretend to be okay when nothing is okay. I'm Tammy from the website Footprints of Inspiration and a Faithful God podcast, and I help women all over the world learn how to let go of those unrealistic expectations surrounding their faith walk so they can show up perfectly imperfect and create a deep and meaningful relationship with God. So today I want to take the Bible verse, John 16:33, which I have no doubt you've heard over the years. Here's what it says. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world, you will have trouble, but take heart because I have overcome the world. So I don't know about you, but for me, sometimes, or at least most of the time that I was growing up, that take heart almost felt like like God was just saying, there, everything will be okay. There, I've overcome the world. Just like a little pat on the back and, oh, everything's going to be okay. But you see, we've got to understand what the phrase take heart means in this passage. So it means to find comfort, to gain courage or confidence, to begin to feel better and more hopeful. So I'm going to break down 5 different ways that you can take heart in the Lord, that you can actually look at this verse from a new and fresh perspective, a verse where God, His love, His grace, His mercy has given us this verse to help us through those trials and challenges. So number 1 means to take comfort, right? Take comfort in Him. It means to find courage and strength through your reliance on God. Now, this isn't about forcing yourself to smile or forcing yourself to suppress the pain. This is about learning to rely on God for the comfort that you need in those hard times. It's about learning to position yourself under God so that you're relying on His comfort. You're relying on His strength, right? You're finding courage not in your own abilities and wisdom and guidance and clarity on getting through these trials and challenges. It's about positioning yourself to rely on God and His challenges, His strength, His comfort to help you through. Number 2, we've got to understand that comfort. We've got to understand that relief that we can find in God. True comfort from God means knowing that even when life feels chaotic, even when it feels crazy, even when you have no idea how it's going to play out, God's peace can guard your heart. God's peace, comfort, victory can guard your heart as you position yourself to rely on Him more. Understanding comfort is the reassurance that in Him you are never alone. You know, so often we feel like we're alone in these fights. So often we feel like, we're just on this, just in this almost this island of despair with nothing around us, nothing that we can see, the only thing we can see is our trials and challenges, is just beating down on us. But we've got to understand what comfort really is, that it's the reliance that in Him, the assurance, that in Him, we are never alone, even though it feels like it. But remember, feelings aren't facts. We're going to stand on what we know to be true. We're not going to stand on our feelings. It feels like we're alone, but that's not truth. What's truth is that God is always with us. This is what John 16:33 means. Take heart. I'm with you. You are not alone. Find comfort in me, not in our circumstances, not in our own ability to make it through. But take comfort completely in God. Number 3, this verse, John 16:33, reminds us of God's promises in the midst of our trials. It reminds us that no matter what we're facing, we are not alone. That no matter what we're facing, God already knows what's going to happen. He's not up there wringing his hands, trying to figure out how he's going to get you through this. It's already been done. He's already figured that out. In this verse, Jesus is very honest. When he says, in this life, you will have trouble. He's being very honest about that. That nowhere in the Bible does it say that when we're following God, that this is going to be an easy road. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that when you're following God, you will never have trials and challenges. And in fact, in John 16:33, it says, in this life, you will have trouble. So Jesus is very honest about that. But in his next words, he says, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. In other words, take heart, take comfort in knowing that I have already overcome this, that I already know how it's going to play out, that I already know that my plans for you, like Jeremiah 29:11 says, plans for good and not for evil, that my plans for you are good. I've got you, my daughter. Your struggles do not have the final say. Did you catch that? Your struggles do not have the final say. God does. Number 4, this verse is not a platitude. Instead, it's an invitation. When Jesus says, take heart, he's not telling you to just, brush off the pain. He's inviting you to take your focus off your struggles and instead put your focus on God and his power. Put your focus on all that God has, is, and will do in your life. It's an invitation that means you can acknowledge your trials while holding on to hope because God's overcoming power is within you. And number 5, this verse teaches us that there is peace even in the midst of our most difficult times, even in the midst of our trials and our challenges and what feels like an impossible situation. This peace isn't something that's tied to our circumstances. It's actually tied from God. It's that peace that when we go to God, not trying to achieve peace on our own, in our own strength, but when we go to God, when we open ourselves up, when we surrender and receive his peace, that peace that transcends all understanding, all human or worldly understanding. This is a peace that, again, is not dictated by our circumstances, but is dictated by God, by whose we are, and why we were created. It's that deep, unshakable peace. When you take heart, you're not ignoring the struggle. Did you catch that? When you take heart, you're not ignoring the struggle. You're choosing to rest in God's steadfast love despite your struggles. Now, my friend, I'm going to repeat that again because that is so incredibly powerful. When you take heart, you're not ignoring the struggle. You're choosing to rest in God's steadfast love despite it. Now, before we wrap up, there are 2 things that I want to tell you here. If this blessed you today, if you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I needed this. I really, really needed this in my life. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to give it a big thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to the show. When you do that, that's going to ensure that you do not miss out on any of the videos or podcast episodes that I put out. That'll make sure that you get all of them, all the notifications for them. Number 2, if this blessed you today, what I want you to do is hop on over to my 4-part series on learning to have faith in God. Because here's the thing, so often when we're stuck in those hard times, those trials, those challenges, when that's all we can see around us, it's really hard when we're losing faith in God. It's really hard to find that faith in God. And I've got an entire 4-part series for you. So I'm going to drop it in the links below, drop a link in it or in the comments below, and I'm also going to put it up on the screen right now. Hop on over, listen to that entire 4-part series because it's going to be a powerful one. And it's really going to help you learn how to quote unquote take heart, right? How to find comfort in relying on God's power to get you through. All right, my friend, that's it for today's video. I'll meet you back here in the next one.